I didn't finish the story about the guy who wouldn't sign off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Okay, so...
He'll clip it back.
Yeah. So, should I mention his name? I mean,
If you want.
Yeah, you should. Fucking guy.
what do you guys care? But Holt McCallany, who was a friend of mine and a good actor, but the scene that was required was he went into this warehouse and was watching Disco Bean dance, and he wanted to interview Disco Bean about the missing one-eyed Jimmy. He's got the camera going on him, and Disco Bean says, "Put down the camera," and he brings him in and he starts to dance with him. And it's like a classic scene, too. But the guy got so uncomfortable because he thought that people were going to think he was gay. Which, I mean, are you an actor or are you not an actor?
Right.
You know, and so it just appalled him.
So he didn't want to sign off.
So
Damn,
we
Holt.
finished the film. Everybody signs off. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And he doesn't sign. And now it's 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and I got offers to do. And I'm like talking to him like I'm trying to talk sense to him. Nothing. And then Tony Sirico calls me. This was pre-Sopranos. But Tony Sirico, when he took my film, he had just gotten out of prison, 4.5 years for all sorts of mob-related stuff. He was the real deal. The guy he replaced was going into prison, Frank Vincent, who was in all the Scorsese films.
Yeah.
You know him when you see him. Great actor. And so I lost 2 days before we were supposed to start filming, I get a collect call from Frank Vincent. I'm hearing all this clanking in the background. Like, I said, "Frank, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm a little indisposed." He said, "You think maybe we could postpone the film like 18 months?
Damn.
I said, "Are you in jail?" And he goes, "For now." So Sirico was coming out of jail. He was a Brooklyn guy. And he said to me, "I want to play it." Now, the character originally was called the Whale because Frank Vincent was fairly big. He was a big guy. Tony Sirico wasn't, so the name was changed to the Snake. And he responds and he explains in the film that he went to the Bahamas and lost weight at the spa. Anyway, Sirico calls me after the film.
And when he told you he wanted to play it, was it like, "I want to play it"? Or was it like asking you?
It was a combination of both. But I also knew that he'd be good for this.
Yeah.
Mind you, I had never seen any of his work. I had heard about his street work because he was known in the neighborhood. I mean, even after he went away, and you know, the absurdity of all this was, and they kept this as his Soprano character too. He lived with his mother, and you know, this hitman basically living with his mother.
That's funny.
And so he calls me and he goes, "What's going on with this fucking movie?" And I said, "Well, we got a guy who won't sign off." And he said, "What?" And I realized then, I thought, "Oh no, this is going to be an issue."
Yeah, this going to be bad.
Yeah. And he said, "Who?" I said, "Tony, it'll work out." He said, "Who?" I gave him the name. He said, "Where's he live?" I said, "Tony." Tony. He said, "I'm not going to ask you again." Now he's talking to me.
Yeah.
"Where does he live?" "Here, right here." Give him the address. And the next day at my front door, it's Sirico with the paper that's signed.
Oh, my God.
I don't know what happened. I don't want to know.
He gave him an offer he couldn't refuse.
Yo.
He signed.
Wow.
Needless to say, he and I haven't spoken ever again. Not Sirico passed this last year, but Holt and I never spoke.
But he knows.
Man. And that was your longtime friend?
We've been friends for about 5 years prior to that.
Okay.
You know, the original investors in the movie were myself, Ray Mancini, Nick Turturro, and Holt. We all put in like a few $1,000s, and we all got it back. But it was like a vote of confidence. Let's go do this. Let's go do this. Nobody had a clue as to what we were doing. We hadn't made a movie before. Nick, at the time, was the doorman at the San Moritz Hotel in Manhattan. And people knew him basically because he was the singing doorman. He was singing, he would do Sinatra songs and then pass the hat looking for tips. He was quite a character.
Now, did you meet Nick first or John?
I met Nick, and when Nick signed on to do the movie with me, there's all these stories. You guys will pick up this book next year when it's published. It's a Hollywood memoir. It's called who do I have to fuck to get off of this show? So all these stories are in there. Yeah. But I met Nick first, and then Nick said to me, he said, my brother won't do this. He went to Yale Drama School. He ain't gonna be doing this. And when I gave the script to John, he said, I'll play that character. And he did it. And I mean, we just had this like phenomenal cast. It was like, okay, let's go make this movie, I guess.
So how was the after party with Holt?
He didn't come.
He did not show up to the party.
No, I never. After the film, after that, no, I've never seen or spoken.
He didn't come to like the openings and none of that shit. He was just like, all right, I signed it.
No.
Did you ever think about cutting the scene out and just not having that scene?
No,
it was like too big of a.
It was John Turturro doing that dance scene that became like, you know, this like The Simpsons stole that. I mean, it was like, no, I'm not cutting that out. That was like a legendary scene. If you go on TikTok now with Tony Sirico and this movie, over 1 million views.
Oh, wow.
Over 1 million views. Like the film still lives in all sorts of different incarnations.
Have you ever thought about remaking the film?
Not remaking it, no. But like we talked about, maybe like a sequel of sorts.
Sequel and a prequel. Let's keep it going.
Yeah. You know how as the time goes on, like that was I think that may have been Sam Rockwell's first film. Like he was basically homeless when he came into audition. Yeah. And he put a fake, like a contact lens in his eye because he was auditioning for the character of One-Eyed Jimmy. Yeah. And he was like, I thought, oh man, this is like, he's going to some lengths here to be in this. So I cast him. I mean, it was just, yeah.
Now, hanging around these New York mob guys, you also have a play called Sit Down Conversations with the Mob, right?
That's right.
How's that, or what it's about, or what kind of story is